Welcome to the training of how to create your own Safemoon Fork on the Binance Smart Chain. I'm super excited to show you guys how to do this because Safemoon currently is one of the biggest things that happened in the crypto world. Currently, Safemoon is ranked number 200 on CoinMarketCap and has a very promising future. Have you ever seen the hundreds of Safemoon copies and ever wondered if you could make one too? Well, the answer is actually yes. It's a lot easier than it actually seems. So what do you think makes Safemoon so special? Safemoon actually introduced a very new concept of token distribution and taxing, which supports the price of its token, and thanks to this, the price of Safemoon skyrocketed. This course will teach you how to make the exact same thing as Safemoon and let you build and launch the next Safemoon. Alright, let's get started. So what is a Safemoon token? Safemoon is a BEP20 token, which means it's just following the standard for creating and issuing tokens on the Binance Smart Chain. Just like every other tokens on Binance Smart Chain, it will have very similar functionality, such as checking the balance of or transferring it, etc. But what makes Safemoon unique? Not only is Safemoon just a regular token, it's something called a frictionless yield token. To better understand this, let's go over how it actually works. So in Safemoon, there is a 10% tax on all transfers. This means anytime that you send money from your address to another address, 10% of it is going to be taxed. The 10% that is taxed is actually used in a way to be redistributed among all the people holding Safemoon. In a sense, if you're a holder of Safemoon, you can earn tokens passively called reflections without paying any gas fees. The fact that you're not paying gas fees makes it frictionless, and hence the term frictionless yield token. Yield comes from the sense that you're earning yield as in more Safemoon just from holding it. To better understand it, let's go over an example. Let's say you are the sender and you're going to be sending 100 Safemoon to your friend, who is the recipient in this case. So when you send your 100 tokens of Safemoon, there's going to be a 10% tax, and 10% of 100 is 10 tokens, and so only 90 tokens of that is going to be sent to the recipient. The other 10%, which is the 10 tokens, it's going to be distributed 50-50. 50% of that 10%, which is 5 of those tokens, are being sent to all the holders. So the 5% is distributed among all the people holding Safemoon tokens. They're all earning passive income, and you earn, as a holder, you earn more based on how much more Safemoon you already own. And there's an algorithm that goes behind it, but we can talk about this later. And the other 5% is actually sent to the liquidity provider, and in this case, it's PancakeSwap. So the liquidity provider has a pair contract for Safemoon. It's a pair between Safemoon and BNB, and this actually holds the price of Safemoon. So by sending 5% of the Safemoon to the pair contract, it's in a sense, it's reducing the amount of Safemoon in circulation, hence making it a deflationary token. And over time, by doing so, they are maintaining the price of Safemoon. Alright, we're going to talk about some of the prerequisites we have for taking this course. I want to keep this really simple and not have to worry too much about installing things on our computer. So for writing the code to make the Safemoon Fork, we're just going to be using something called a remix. So the URL is actually just remix.ethereum.org. You can deploy Ethereum contracts, you can deploy a Binance Smart Chain contracts, you can write Solidity code, and it's basically an online compiler for Solidity, and you can write any code and test it out here. So for a lot of beginners, I'd recommend you guys to actually just try Remix to write your first Solidity codes, and like even you can even do deployments and stuff from here. So it's super cool. The next thing we're going to need is something called MetaMask. MetaMask is what is going to be the wallet that we're going to be using. You need the wallet because this is how you connect to your wallet address account when you're deploying the token. So when you're making your own Safemoon Fork, you want to launch using your own token, and MetaMask is like a open source wallet that's been built and proven to be really safe. So we're going to be using that. And finally, once you have MetaMask, you want to go ahead and add Binance Smart Chain to MetaMask. So as you can see, I just did a quick Google search on how to add BSC to MetaMask. BSC stands for Binance Smart Chain. And there's a lot of articles. What I usually just go to is go for academy.binance.com, since that's the official documentation on how to add MetaMask to Binance Smart Chain, or connecting MetaMask to Binance Smart Chain. And they have the whole guide over here, which includes how you even set up MetaMask. As you scroll down, it tells you how to configure the wallet and actually explains all the things that you're going to need. So basically what you do is once you have MetaMask, you open up MetaMask, which is going to be in your like extensions. You open that up, and we're just gonna quickly log in. Yeah, so when you open up MetaMask, you see something like this. I already have some balances, but you're not gonna have any of that. So what you actually end up doing is you just go on settings, or actually settings over here, and yeah, you just want to, what you actually want to do is you want to scroll down and hit some no, not even that actually. Yeah, so if you want to add a network, you actually just open up this networks tab and just hit custom RPC, and when you go there, you add the network name Smart Chain, you add the RPC URL, the chain ID, the symbol, and the blockchain explorer. So it's all actually documented really well over here, and you want to go ahead and add mainnet as well as testnet, because it's a lot of times when you're deploying a new token, you want to first test it out on the test network. So go ahead and give that a try. Okay, now we're going to start off with forking SafeMoon, but before we start off, let's first go over the code of SafeMoon and try to understand it. So to find the code for SafeMoon, we can honestly just start from Google. On Google, you just want to go ahead and search up SafeMoon contract. You'll notice that it actually has like the SafeMoon contract on BSC scan, and there's actually a GitHub repository. So this GitHub repository under SafeMoon Protocol, under the user SafeMoon Protocol, is the original SafeMoon users GitHub GitHub page, and then from there you can just go to safemoon.sol. That's the Solidity contract. There's a little bit of a description for what SafeMoon is over here, and yeah, I'll just quickly zoom in so it's a little bit easier to read. The SafeMoon contract, as you can see, I'm zooming out a little bit. Okay. So SafeMoon was built under Solidity version 0.6.12. So we're gonna have to configure our remix ID to use 0.6.12. And there's a lot of like interfaces and things that it's actually imported in the SafeMoon contract and SafeMoon Smart contract, such as the IERC20. So a lot of times these things can be imported directly from something called OpenZeppelin. So these are OpenZeppelin libraries, which has a lot of default functions and like interfaces that you're going to be using. So SafeMoon uses IERC20, so that is the interface for an ERC20 token. So since SafeMoon is a Binance Smart Chain token, it's actually a BEP20 token, but there's a lot of similarities between ERC20 and BEP20. I think BEP20 tokens actually extend ERC20 tokens, the ERC20 standard. And if you don't know what ERC20 standard is, that is the standard for issuing tokens in the Ethereum blockchain. So they're pretty identical. So over here, this just has the interface for IERC20. It has a lot of the functions that almost every single token in blockchain, or like Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain has, with the transfer and approval functions. And there's the other library, SafeMath. This is something that's required in 0.6.12 because of a bug that exists in this version. I think for later versions you don't actually need the SafeMath library, but we're going to need that for making our Safemoon fork. So it has a bunch of functions just to do some SafeMath. Yeah. Then there's this other contract called a context. We don't need to really understand that. There's a library for address. We can basically skip most of that and just scroll down. Then there's another really interesting contract called Ownable, and this is basically kind of like a library that determines who the owner of the token is, so who the owner of your SafeMoon fork is going to be. You can do a lot of things here, like lock time. You can have multiple owners, or you can like revoke ownership. You have like a really cool modifier called only owner. So a lot of times in functions you can use the modifier only owner to specify that only the owner is capable of calling that function. So we'll see the use of this many times in the code base. There's things like renounce ownership. That's if you ever decide to write your contract in such a way that after you deploy the contract and your smart token is your smart contract is out there and the token is deployed, and after it's deployed you want to like renounce the ownership, you're very capable of doing so. There's like, yeah, you can transfer ownership, all that, just pass the address. So it's a really cool library that you can look into some other time. The other interface is iUniswap v2 factory. So SafeMoon originally was made with it's in Pancake Swap v2. If you guys remember the part of like the pair contracts and liquidity, we use PancakeSwap, and we have a pair contract that's from one of our previous videos. Here we use the interface for Uniswap because PancakeSwap is actually just a fork of Uniswap. So if we use the exact same interface as Uniswap, we have all the exact same functionality. So we're just going to be using the interface for Uniswap, but it's actually going to be PancakeSwap that we're actually targeting. So it has a lot of these functionalities, as you can see here. This is the Uniswap. This is the interface for Uniswap v2 pair, and we're going to have our own pair of our own SafeMoon fork against BNB in SafeMoon. This is like the Uniswap v2 router interface. Yeah, you'll see many times that it references WETH, so that's wrapped Ethereum. But since we're using Binance Smart Chain and PancakeSwap, WETH will actually just be WBNB, so wrapped BNB in our case. Even though it says WETH, we'll probably be working with WBNB. And yeah, a lot of functions here. We can mostly just skip through most of it. Yeah. And I think this is the actual smart contract for SafeMoon itself. So this is the part where we'll be forking, and this is where we actually do the modifications that are required. So contract SafeMoon is contacts. It's an ERC20 token, and it's ownable. And you can see a lot of functions. So the initial variables. So the first variable is like a mapping of reflections owned. So if you remember, reflections are what's being distributed among the users. The next one, I believe, is that total circulation, I believe. So that's how much total is owned in addresses. There's things like allowances. If a certain address is excluded from fees, this is when I remember how every time you do a transfer, there's a 10% tax in SafeMoon. If you can make it so certain addresses are excluded from having that 10% tax. So there's a lot of these variables. Max, this is the total supply of the token. So this is where you determine how much total SafeMoon exists in circulation. So in our fork, we can change that. It's up to us. The next one is this is the math that determines the reflections. So when things are being distributed among the 5% that's being distributed among the users, it comes the math behind that has something to do with how they calculate the total number of reflections. And yeah, so this is where you actually change the name. So when we're making our SafeMoon fork, we would just be changing the name, the symbol. We probably want to leave the decimals and all that the same. Or if you want to play around how much the tax fee is, we can change that here. So you can just say the tax fees, let's say it's like 3% instead of 5%. And the liquidity fee, so this is the 5% that's going to like PancakeSwap. You can also change that to be like 2% or 1% or whatever. It's really up to your liking. And one of the more important functions is the constructor. So this is when our SafeMoon is actually being deployed, or our own fork is deployed. So a few things happened. The total amount owned, we set that to the R total. We initialized the router for, so this is the V2, the PancakeSwap router. So you're just getting the router. The first thing we do is you actually create the pair in PancakeSwap. So every time you actually deploy your token, the constructor is going to run, and that's going to the one time it runs the constructor, it'll create the pair address for your token against wrapped BNB. I know it says wrapped ETH, but like we said, it's going to be wrapped BNB. And yeah, one of the things it does is it excludes the owner from any fees. So if you're the account that actually deploys it, so you'll be using your MetaMask wallet and you deploy your token from that, your account will be excluded from fees. So when you're transferring initially to other people, there's actually a 0% tax on that. And every time that happens, there's the emit transfer function. And yeah, and the rest we see are very standard functions that exist in most tokens: the name, function symbol, the total supply, all that. Yeah. Yeah, if you scroll down there, you see some more interesting functions like the reflection from token. This is a function that determines how much reflection you'll be earning based on the amount of tokens there are. Token from reflections, I think it has something to do with the similar Something similar happens with this. Exclude from reward is like how you can have a certain address that's not allowed to receive any rewards. So you can also do that. So it's sometimes when you're making your own SafeMoon fork and you want to have a dev wallet address that doesn't receive rewards or anything, you could use the function like this and then pass in the address. Again, you'll see things like the modifier only owner that's passed in. This means only the owner wallet address is allowed to call this function. So so now you know how the owner library comes in handy. So you'll see many times such as include reward and all that. Yeah, so remember how we remove the owner address from the from being receiving any reward beginning. If you ever want to change that, you can always come back and just like call the include and reward and pass in the owner address if you're the owner, that is. And yeah, there's a lot of other functions that we can mostly just pass. You can always come back, like after you have initially set your tax fee, you can always come back and change the taxation or the tokenomics of your token by just calling these functions by changing the tax fee percentage and liquidity fee percent. If I recall correctly, the tax fee is the 5% that's being distributed among the users, and the liquidity fee is the 5% that's being sent to all the so it's being sent to the liquidity pair. And yeah, and these are just functions that we can just quickly skim over. We don't really know what they're doing, but they're basically helping the internal mechanism of SafeMoon. And if you want to understand more, you can definitely spend more time and like really try to see what's happening in the code if you it up all for yourself. But for our purposes, we're mostly just making forks, so it'd be really easy. We just have to change the things we need to. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I missed that's important, but let's. Yeah, so you see some really interesting functions over here, such as the token transfer, that and token transfer, which is calling like the transfer from excluded transfer to excluded standard. These are all responsible. These functions are responsible for actually transferring the reflections. So this is how like the reflection applied. That is how whenever someone earns token just from holding SafeMoon, how earning is happening. You can so you can take a really deep dive into like how the reflections are being distributed among users just by reading these functions. Yeah, and that's the end of that. So the most important parts were like beginning of like the SafeMoon contact and the constructor. Most of our changes will be happening around like the top-ish area, where we change the name, the percentages, and all that. Thanks for watching, guys. This is part 1 of how to fork your own SafeMoon token. Part 2 will be coming up shortly, and in that video we will be forking the entire SafeMoon project and deploying it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.